possible for us to forget our history. And you realize nobody is saved by understanding the things that I'm telling you today. But I think it's important we don't forget our history. We don't forget what's happening politically in the country. Let me read a quote to you from the book Great Controversy, page 564. Romanism is now regarded by Protestants with far greater favor than in former years. If that was true when she wrote it, I wonder what she'd think today. In those countries where Catholicism is not in the ascendancy and the papists are taking a conciliatory course in order to gain influence, well, they're just about now in the ascendancy here. Do you know right now there's slightly more Protestants in North America than Catholics, but that's quickly changing. The papists are taking a more conciliatory course in order to gain influence. There's an increasing indifference concerning the doctrines. This is the thing that concerns me, friends. There's an increasing indifference concerning the doctrines that separate the Reformed churches from the papal hierarchy. Why is that important to me? Because the truth sets you free. The reason people join churches, I hope, is because of what it stands for, what it embraces as the truth. But now people are saying, let's join this church because I like the building, it's close to the house, it's where grandma went. They've got all these other reasons for joining a church other than what do they teach? What's the truth? Jesus said, I'm the truth. Truth is something worth dying for. The opinion's gaining ground after all. We don't differ so widely on vital points as been supposed, and that a little concession on our part will bring us into better understanding with Rome. The time was when Protestants placed a high value on the liberty of conscience, which has been so dearly purchased. They taught their children to arbor popery and held that to seek harmony with Rome would be disloyalty to God. But how widely different are the sentiments now expressed. I was kind of stunned. Oh, I guess I wasn't stunned, but I sure heard a lot of it. Listening to the news, the big news, once they announced the Pope, it just flooded all the airwaves. And I heard a lot of announcers, they were interviewing Protestant leaders, and they thought, oh, wonderful man, humble man. And I'm going, man, they're just all fawning over a Jesuit Pope. And I thought, do they know why they're a Protestant? I'd venture to say that a lot of Protestants have amnesia, and we have no idea why so many laid down their lives and even came to this country. We didn't come to this country because we were great mountain men and explorers. Most of us didn't know what we were doing, the Pilgrims. They died the first year because they weren't wilderness people. They were looking for religious freedom. And a lot of them were willing to die to get religious freedom. So how would we go about losing that freedom? Would it happen overnight or little by little? It's happening now. The defenders of the papacy declare that the church has been misunderstood. And the Protestant world is inclined to accept the statement. Many urge that it's unjust to judge the church of today. Listen to this. Many urge that it's unjust to judge the church today by the abominations and absurdities that marked her reign during the centuries of ignorance and darkness. They excuse her horrible cruelty as a result of the barbarianism of the times, and they plead that the influence of a modern civilization has changed her sentiments. Oh, where has that change been published? I'd like to see the published statement that we no longer believe the things that we once believed. No, I don't believe so. Page 566, that was 564. Let me read one more quote. This is a quote from Great Controversy. The Protestant churches are in great darkness, they would discern the signs of the times. The Roman Church is far-reaching in her plans and mode of operation. She is employing every device to extend her influence and increase her power in preparation for a fierce and determined conflict to regain control of the world, to reestablish persecution, and undo all that Protestantism has done. This is what's happening. So, what's next? Well, we already know that the beast power has international influence. Like I said, I'm waiting now to see when this new pope will speak to the United Nations and when the next president, our president, will meet with the new pope. And because it's one of those connections like every president makes a trip to Israel, invites the leader of Israel to our country. It's just a very important bond because of the loyalty of the Jewish people around the world. They also need to do that with the leader of the Catholic world. And you'll see, I think, a lot more happening. And this man seems to be a very loving, charismatic, humble man that he's not as much the theologian and the bookworm as Benedict was. A little more a man of the people. And so I think you're going to see rapid things happen quickly. How do they say? Final movements, maybe rapid ones. So friends, what do? Go to Revelation 13. Yeah, we'll pray. Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. In Revelation 13, verse 11, then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and it had two horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Now, I think I've got a picture of the Vatican and the Capitol. Have you ever noticed some of the similarities between the design in Rome? Do you know why there's so much Roman architecture in Washington, D.C.? Our founding fathers, actually, they meant well. They were trying to break away from the monarchies of Europe, and they said, we want a republic. Rome started out, before it turned into a dictatorship, it started out like a republic where it was run by the people. And we want to return to the great Republic of Rome. And so they put all this Roman architecture up. But it ended up looking an awful lot like what you would find in Vatican City. And we began to make an image to the beast. Do you know that when America was building the Washington Monument, that the papacy, trying to reconcile with the Protestants in America, sent a marble stone and said, I'd like to donate this block for you to include. America was struggling financially to finish the monument. You know, it took them like 40 years to finish the Washington Monument. Stopped during the Civil War, among other things. So the Catholic Church said, here, we'll help. And they sent a marble block. Still, at that point, the sentiments in America were so strong, they took the marble block and they tumbled it off in the Potomac River, and they said, we don't want anything from the beast. But things have changed. Who can forget that vivid picture when Pope John Paul II died and you see 3 or 4 American presidents on their knees before the corpse of the Pope? I'm sure they didn't mean that they were worshiping, they were just being respectful, but it still is a stirring image. And then when, like I said, our president goes to visit the Pope, and probably going to plan a visit before too long, either he'll come there, I'll wager that before the Pope comes to the U.S., that the President will go to Rome. I could be wrong. Oh, I'm not wagering, I'm sorry. We don't gamble in church. I don't play the lottery, no. Just figure of speech, forgive me. But typically, the one who goes to the location of the other is showing deference to the authority. And so I'm suspecting that you're going to see our president planning a trip to Rome, maybe even before the year's up, and that they'll be building that relationship. But Babylon still exists. There are 2 beasts in Revelation. It's not one beast. When we talk about the mark of the beast, there are 2 beasts. You've got apostate Christianity in Europe with the seat there in Rome, and you've got apostate Christianity that's happened now in North America with evangelicals that are compromising Scripture. And the 2 of them are going to get together. Protestants will be foremost in stretching their hands across the abyss to clasp the hand of Romanism. And then joining hands with spiritualism under the threefold union of those powers, the final events are going to happen rapidly. I don't have a deadline or date that I'm going to share with you. The wheel of prophecy sometimes seems to turn slowly, but I'll promise you, friends, it turns. And everything that God said in His Word is going to happen. Indeed, it's happening before your eyes. And I just did not want this significant prophetic event to go unnoticed or unidentified in our church, so people will at least be aware of what's happening. You're probably not going to see the world collapse around you tomorrow, but I want you to be wise. I want you to be praying. And what it really means to you, we can all have Babylon in our hearts. You may be a member of a Protestant church, but you can be apostate in your heart. If you're not following the teachings of Christ, it doesn't matter where your membership is. There are going to be a lot of Roman Catholics in heaven. Might even find some bishops of Rome that'll make it to the kingdom. I don't know men's hearts. God judges people according to the light they have. And you've got people in my church that may not be there. Just because their names are on the church rolls doesn't mean we're going to be in the kingdom. Are we following the truth, the teachings of Jesus? Have we forgotten what our fathers and mothers died for and fought for? Or are we willing to stand up for the same? It's the truth that will set you free.